So now we're settled in. We have an idea of the cast of characters. You guys are now in the room where you're going to be birthing the baby. All right, you're in labor, and now it's a waiting game. All right, so if you have a doula, she's going to be moving your woman around, and if not, this is what a doula would be doing. All right, she'd be, number one, working on helping to reduce your woman's pain through contractions, right? Which massage is our number one tool. How massage works to decrease pain is essentially, it's called the gate theory, and what happens is it blocks the pain signals by more relaxing signals, okay? So for lack of a better example, if you hurt your finger and someone steps on your foot, you're not going to remember the finger because your foot's going to hurt, except it works with the nice feelings also. So massage is going to be a great tool to help her through contractions, all right? And also, if she is a relatively healthy, standard issue, laboring woman with no real health constrictions, you can move her around. And look, you want to ask your OB, you want to ask your midwife, you want to make sure, although, you both know if she is a relatively healthy woman and things have been going okay, there's no real reason she can't be moving around even in the room. All right. So I laid out for you here some early labor activities and then some activities from mid to the end of labor, like towards birth. All right. Number one, hugging. Although what I really want to start with is, depending on how she's feeling and you want to check in with her, maybe you're moving positions. Hey, babes, let's change up positions to help you to be more comfortable. Every 15 minutes, every 30 minutes. I mean, you want to be the judge. Connect with her on it. And her sitting there in the bed just like this, for 18 hours, just feeling pain. That's what happens in a lot of cases, because people just don't recognize, I could move around, I could change positions, and, that's what happens, all right? And it takes longer to progress. So the more you have her moving around, interacting, right? It's just going to be helpful. It's going to help time pass. She's going to be more comfortable. You're going to be more relevant in the big picture, all right? So if she's tethered to the monitors, all right, and another little tidbit with the monitors, the heart rate and the contraction monitors, beep, 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 they make all this noise. You can turn the volume down, all right? If you're in a hospital setting, you can be rest assured somebody outside of your room is watching the monitors, all right? So you could turn the volume down. You don't want to turn it off. You can turn the volume down. That really is a nice thing to do. It's going to make the room more peaceful, all right? And let's just say she's tethered to that thing, to the monitor machine, right? She can still start walking around the room. So here, early labor activities, one of them is walking. So you could ask the nurses, hey, could we be unplugged from this thing and walk around, depending on how early stages of labor it is. They like when they're walking around if they can. So walking is amazing. Hugging is also nice. She gets up out of bed, you guys kind of lean on each other like this, like a teepee, okay? And just kind of, oh my gosh, hanging out, connect. How you doing, babes? Just hanging out again. Even if it's for 5 minutes, for 3 minutes, it's another activity you can do that's going to connect you, and she's feeling supported by you. It's a nice thing to do, all right? Next is she can lean against the wall, right? So you want to manage it this way. Hey, first of all, hey, babes, we don't have a doula. It's you and me in here. And, moving you around is going to really help the labor move. And she could be like, oh, okay, that sounds good. Imagine you didn't take a class, you didn't do anything. That's how you could bring it up. So you're going to be moving her around, right, to keep things moving. Great, honey. Awesome. Another early labor, she could be leaning against the wall, like this, and rub down. Give her a rub down, put some pressure, again, checking in. Is that too much pressure? Not enough pressure? The shoulders, down her back, down her behind, give her a rub, okay? Down the legs, all the way up, all the way down. Very nice, all right? Right, so either the legs, the back, the whole, she could be leaning against the wall, rub her all down, all right? Next, you could have her, another activity, have her hands and knees. Hey, babes, she's leaning back, hands and knees, right? Cat-cow in yoga. She's on her hands and knees. She could be bringing her tush back up and down, right? Just kind of arching her back and relaxing and arching, okay? When she's doing that, you can be, crawl up there and work her back, all right? Or she could just be doing that by itself. Then, look, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, she could hang out like that with some pillows underneath, hands and knees. Even putting a movie on, just moving her positions around until she's like, okay, I'm done with this one. Okay, no problem. Move to the next one. Then you could have her off the bed, sitting in a chair, leaning forward onto the bed like this. Okay, just as another position. You could have a movie on, listening to music, whatever you're doing, and let her just relax and breathe, okay? Just like that. She could do the same thing, leaning over onto the bed with you massaging her back, her neck, her shoulders. You could always add that in, right, as just another version of the move, of the activity, all right? Then you also can have her, if they have an exercise ball. A lot of times in hospitals, birthing centers, they're going to have an exercise ball or like a peanut one where it's, two bigger on the outside and then there's like a dip in the middle, right? They're a little more stable. She could be leaning over that. She can be sitting on that, right? Which leads to the next activity, which could be taking her to a walk and let her sit on the toilet. Okay, squatting is very comfortable for them. Squatting is great because it helps the baby descend, right? It shortens their cervix. In the old days, women would birth the baby standing up, supported, because gravity, man, gravity. We want the baby moving down and out, okay? So now here with her squatting, you could be sitting and supporting her squatting, right? You could be standing supporting her squatting. She could be sitting on the toilet bowl. She could be sitting on the exercise ball. All of these positions, right? In 18 hours, move her around to these different positions. She could have her arms around your shoulders in squatting, depending on her health and fitness and all of that. If the facility you're in has a birthing tub, she could either labor in the tub. If you're in a hospital setting, some of them have tubs. They won't deliver in a tub. They're not, they have little tubs in the bathroom or a nice sized tub that they can labor in, but they're not designed to birth in. Put her in the tub. If, the nurses, if she's okay, let her spend a couple minutes in the tub, right? So you can move her around to all these different positions. It's really going to help things move along. You have something to do, and you're managing the birth. You're managing the activities. You're really the activity director, okay? And if you do decide to have a doula involved, then you're not on the dime to do it. You're supporting all of that. Either way, you right now, this activity cheat sheet, you're set up, dude. I mean, this is what, this is what you can do to be the activity director. You're going to direct those activities. You're going to be checking in, you could have a movie on, radio, whatever kind of environment, peaceful, chill environment, and you could be moving her around to help facilitate the movement of this baby to come down and out. And through the process, it's going to speed up time. You'll be relevant, and you're really going to be helping her out in a big way. So that's pretty much how labor is going to go, unless if she wants a natural vaginal birth with no medication. That's how it's going to go until she's 10 centimeters dilated and ready to push the baby out. All right. If she wants an epidural, a vaginal birth, and she wants an epidural, here's the thing that you need to know about an epidural. It all comes down to the timing, right? So even if she does want the epidural, there's going to be a stretch of time before she gets it. And again, put these into play until she gets to that time. It's going to decrease her pain, increase her comfort level, your relevance, all of it. All right. So with an epidural, here's the situation. All right. Most OBs won't give a woman an epidural until she's at least 3 centimeters dilated. And again, this is a generality, okay? Most common practices. Yours may be different. And they usually won't give an epidural on the upper end if she's past like 8 centimeters dilated. So, you know, with an epidural, zillions of them happen a day, okay? With no side effects, with no problems. And look, some women do have side effects and they do have some headaches and different things with the epidurals. Okay, we don't need to get into all the different side effects. They happen. Okay, again, ultimately, the less interventions, the less side effects. Okay, however, a lot of women get epidurals all the time. All right, so the thing with the epidural and why there's a time frame. Number one, sometimes epidurals stall a birth, and a lot of times epidurals will help facilitate the birth because like in our first birth, after 18 hours, Michelle's exhausted. She didn't eat anything. Stress and anxiety and the pain and all of it. And she's like, give me the epidural. And once she had the epidural and a lot of that pain went away and she relaxed, the baby started and progressed and, was delivered soon after. All right. So with an epidural, why they wouldn't give her one on the upper end, if she's like 8 centimeters dilated up here, that means her contractions are powerful. And an epidural, they need to stick a needle through her, through the disc space, right? So, and at that late hour with these heavy duty contractions, it increases odds of risk, right? Because if she's contracting and they're putting a needle in and she moves, it's more risk, all right? So, with an epidural, let's say you're in the middle there, 6 centimeters, and she's like, get me the epidural. You're like, no problem. Hey, Susie, the nurse, thank you, you're amazing, Susie. Sally is into getting the epidural now. Okay, thanks for letting me know. The nurse will call the pharmacy and say, okay, Sally in room 215, she wants the epidural. Now, they already took some blood and they know how much she weighs and all the details that the pharmacist would need to know to mix up the specific anesthetic for your woman, okay? Then they also call the anesthesiologist, right? He's the one who's going to, or her, they're going to come in here and deliver the epidural. So once that all happens and everyone comes together with the epidural and the anesthesiologist, all right? And again, depending on the hospital, how busy things are, it could take a little while. I mean, half an hour, sometimes an hour. I mean, depending on the hospital, sometimes 15 minutes. It's just not all the time right away, snappy. Just so you understand, there's a time, in between her saying, yes, I want it, and them actually giving it to her and her being more numb. Everyone gets to the room. This is what's going to happen. They'll either have her sitting up and curled over in a ball, or she could be on the bed, curled up in a ball. They're going to flex her to open up the disc space in the back there, okay? They're going to clean it up with the Benadine, it's the brown stuff. They clean her up, alcohol, Benadine, however they're going to sanitize the area. Sometimes they'll give a topical anesthetic so the needle won't hurt so bad. Then they put in this needle. It's big. I'm just telling you it's a big needle, right? So it goes through the disc space, usually like between L3 and 4, lumbar, like the lower lumbars, or L4, L5. Ultimately, your OB is going to know exactly where he's going to put it, right there in one of the lower lumbars, okay, through the disc space. So the bones are open, and there's the padding is the disc, okay? And they put the needle through there, and then it goes into your spinal cord, all right, is wrapped in different layers. And one of the layers is the epidural layer. Epi meaning above, and dura is a layer around the spinal cord, the dural layer. Okay, so they put the needle in the above, the dural layer. They stick the needle in there, all right? And then they're going to pull the needle out. They leave a catheter in there, all right? And then you put the medicine in, all right? That's how it works. So she'll start going numb. Once she has the epidural, clearly she's not moving around anymore. She's in the bed, all right? Something for you to shine here as a hero dad, all right? Even though she can't get out of bed now and move around, once she has an epidural, my guidance for you is to help her to move her legs back and forth, back and forth. Sometimes the epidural medicine is like on one side of the spinal column and doesn't surround it in the medicine to numb. So sometimes one side feels the pain and one side is numb. And something we can do is if you move her knees back and forth, get her moving a little bit, it can spread out the medicine so it's more evenly distributed, which will increase the odds that everything is coated and that she's numb. That's what she wants. You want to make sure that that happens, all right? So move her legs around, right? You'll still have some ability to do that, all right? And it can spread the medicine out. So that's how it works with an epidural. All right, once she gets the epidural, her pain level is going to go down and she's going to be more comfortable. All right. So the thing with the epidural from our perspective and also from the perspective of having the experience of watching my woman first have the epidural and then the second, third, and fourth without the epidural is that, and Michelle will tell you, I mean, we just talked about this the other day, when she has the epidural and it comes time to push and bear down, they're doing it. Like they push, they bear down, and they're numb, right? So they think they're pushing and it's not doing as much as when they don't, right? So just kind of, from both ends. And again, she wants the epidural. Again, we had one the first time. Ultimately, so they know if she's on the fence, number one, they can do it. Number two, that they need to just have that understanding that there's less actual power behind their pushing. And look, at least my woman said it's a night and day experience. Yes, there was pain during the natural childbirth, and she was so much happier after, right? Just from another perspective, like, hey, a lot of women are happier when they go through it because they're not numb. They're totally with it. They're more connected and they feel more empowered, all right? Just throwing that stuff out there for you, okay? So if you are on the, hey, look, babe, you want to try it natural, some of the positives, okay? Some of the positive aspects of not doing the epidural. Because again, all your woman, so much what you woman hears is the pain and the pain and the pain and the pain and how terrible and how pain. Yes, and sometimes, you have that experience and they get through it and they feel so good and accomplished. They don't always hear the positive, the women. It's so much of it is the pain, the pain, the pain, the pain. And yes, I'm not taking away. I mean, clearly, I'm not squeezing a baby out of my vagina because I don't have one. And again, in this world of women who do it and make it happen, there's some positives, right? So just for you to know that there are some positives if they decide not to do the epidural, all right? And if they do the epidural, great, okay? They want it, they get it, and everything is cool. That's what you want to be finding out. Hey, please let me know when my wife's dilated enough so she can get the epidural if that's what she wants. and then you will be a hero for her because that's what she wants, and you will facilitate making that happen. Okay? So that's the story really with the epidural, and you also know to move her around, which will also help you to shine to make sure that she is fully numb because that's what she wanted. All right. So let's just say everything is moving along smoothly, whether she is on the vaginal birth track with no epidural and no drugs, or she is on the track with epidural, right? So you guys are moving along. You came in for a vaginal birth, and it gets to the point and they're like, okay, we think we need to do a C-section, right? So what does that look like? Most of the time, when we're talking about an emergency C-section, when a woman went in for a vaginal birth and ended up with a C-section, it's not usually, oh my God, we need to take this baby out right now, emergency, okay? Like you may see on the TV, okay? That happens. Not so often, all right? You usually have some indication that that is a possibility. I mean, you might have walked into this experience, wanting a vaginal birth, knowing, your OBs or even the midwife, whoever you're with, saying, look, odds are she may need a C-section. I don't know, depending on whatever people told you or wherever you're at, it's always something that could happen, okay? And most of the time, you'll have some warnings. Okay, here are some of the warnings, right? You're in there, she's laboring, labor's going on and on and on. You're into hour, 20, 23, 24, nothing's happening. She's not even dilating. They very likely might say, look, maybe we consider having a C-section, okay? Also, maybe they don't like how they've been, again, it's a long labor, and or, you're a couple hours in and they don't like how maybe the baby's heart rate is dropping and they reposition the thing and they don't like how the heart rate is going. They might say, look, if the heart rate doesn't stabilize, maybe we need to consider doing a C-section. So a lot of times there's this, flow towards them wanting to do a C-section because, you're in this world, and again, there may be good criteria that, look, maybe your baby is in duress and the best option is a C-section. It happens, okay? It happens. So the point here is that there's usually some warning. Okay, there's usually some warning. There's usually some, hey, we don't like how this is going. If it continues to go this way, we really want to consider doing a C-section. I want you to start thinking about that, okay? That's usually what happens, all right? And again, there are some times when this is an emergency, we got to get the baby out right now. Very rare, especially if you're going in with a relatively normal, healthy, standard issue woman without any major issues. That is more rare, and the other way is a lot more common, okay? Hey, we think we're headed towards needing a C-section. Okay, so let's say you get to that point and you're like, okay, let's do the C-section, all right? This is what's going to happen. In that circumstance where there was some warning time and there was some, leaning that way, most of the time they're going to bring you to an operating room. All right. Now, again, if it's like this right away emergency, they might need to do it right there in the labor room. And again, depending if it's one room situation. All right. So in an operating room, they would now put you in a gown with the head thing and the whole business. Your woman will be on a table in a T like this. All right. And now let's just kind of wrap this around to if you were having an appointment for a C-section. You would start here, okay? You have an appointment for a C-section, you show up, they put you in a gown, and now we're here for this C-section, okay? At this point, it's about the same. All right? It is the same, all right? She's in the T, there's a curtain up, okay? You got the anesthesiologist over here, here's your woman, okay? Anesthesiologist and dad over here, all right? Or you guys are switched, depending on the room. All right, that's kind of how it's set up. These days, something you may want to consider if you're having a planned C-section or you're in this predicament where you end up needing a C-section, all right, some OBs now will offer to put a clear sheet up. Why would anybody want a clear sheet up? This is why. With the C-section, there's not going to be this bonding piece, right? Like the baby comes out, baby on the boob and connecting. That's not going to happen, all right? So women have reported that at least seeing the baby come out, even though they're being pulled out of their abdomen, there's more of a sense of connection and bonding. Even though they don't get this time, it's one more piece at least that they're connected instead of not seeing it come out at all. All right? So that is something for you to consider. Talk to your OB, see if they have the clear sheets and if they're, the clear screen, and if they're open to that kind of, they call it a family-centered C-section, like that. If there's not a clear sheet and you're not into watching, that's also understandable, all right? A lot of times they need to take out your woman's intestines or move things around, and you may not really want to see all of that, which is totally fair, all right? I mean, look, in the big picture, you can look if you want and or not. That's kind of what's behind the curtain there, all right? With that being said, whether you look or not, just again to set your expectations of what's going to be going down, you will smell burning, right? Like burning flesh, okay? Because they are cauterizing as they cut to reduce blood loss, right? We really want to reduce blood loss here. And it is a real deal surgery, all right? So you will smell some burning flesh. Now, while you're up here with your woman, you want to be super conscious and pay attention of your woman, right? So a C-section doesn't mean you're kind of off the hook. It means you're now conscious of other factors, right? That everything is going properly. I had a guy in class that reported after a C-section that his woman, something just seemed off, through the process. He's looking at her face and she's kind of grimacing and she's super vulnerable, all right? From your woman's end, it's kind of like having a tooth pulled, right? Like she's numb and they feel pressure. There's pressure, okay? This particular case, the medicine was wrong and she was feeling everything and he recognized something's not wrong. He's like, hey, something's wrong here. And they made a mistake. I mean, look, these are just people, right? I mean, they're in the birthing world and you don't know where they were last night. You don't know how much sleep they got. And, if they're having issues at home with their wife or husband, we don't know. I mean, we want to believe. I mean, look, everyone is there for the healthiest, safest situation. And that's why we need to be grounded. We need to be paying attention, managing whatever comes our way, right? Just really focused on your woman, the baby, the birth, all of this stuff. So that dude, they got it fixed. However, she was feeling what she was feeling for the amount of time she was feeling it, right? So we're paying attention, watching her face, and if she's calm and good girl, you're doing great, baby, daddy, I'm here for you. Whatever it is that you say to help calm your woman down, let her know you're there, you're present, all of it, all right? After a baby is birthed, and again, back to with the birth and changing, okay, with the C-section, they're going to take the baby out pretty much like this. They grab the baby, pull it out. So there's pressure up on the neck and spine and all of that, okay? And you watch it and you'll see. I mean, that's just what it is. Not good, not bad. That's just what it is. They pull the baby out by its head, all right? Even with the vaginal birth. So just, again, it's going to be real for you when you see it happening, if you see this circumstance. After they pull the baby out, they will cut the cord. You will not have the opportunity to cut the cord in a C-section situation. Depending on the hospital or wherever you have a C-section, I've heard reports from dudes that they did rest the baby on mama's chest for a little while, although in most cases that's not the case. Usually they're going to bring the baby over to see mama. Hello. And then they're going to take the baby to the recovery room, NICU, wherever the baby's going to go, depending on the circumstance. So one thing for you to talk about with your woman now is the following, all right? And that is, hey babe, I know we're planning on a vaginal birth, epidural, no epidural, whatever, a vaginal birth. In the case that we need to have an emergency C-section, do you want me to stay with you or do you want me to go with the baby? Right? Talk about that. You don't want to be in that circumstance and making that decision on the fly. I mean, you can, and it's worth having a discussion now, so at least you've talked about it before. And with that being said, being flexible to recognizing if today, you hear this, we have this conversation, and you go talk to your woman and she's like, you know what? I want you to go with the baby, right? And then in the heat of the moment, she's like, I want you to stay with me, just stay with me, okay? Being open, and really being open to what her needs are, all right? Because things change in the heat of the moment. Having this conversation now is a great idea, so you're not kind of in the heat of the moment having to first breach the subject. All right? So that's the flow of a C-section, whether you planned it and you showed up and or it flowed into a C-section. Now, the main difference, okay, and again, these odds are super duper small, all right, very small. In the case of a right now emergency, super duper quick, this is an emergency, like real deal, like right now get the baby out. The main difference is in those circumstances, the surgeon would typically do a vertical cut on her abdomen versus a bikini cut, right? So if they have time and it's not like a right now, this is an emergency, the baby is, in serious danger, they're going to give her a bikini cut, right, across her bikini line. And if it is a major emergency, they're not taking time to make sure the cut is nice for a bikini, and health and wellness is on the line, so the cut would be different, and they would cut a vertical cut. All right, those are the main real differences there. All right. So now let's go back to the vaginal birth flow minus a C-section situation, and let's talk about the birth, right? So we've made it through, you've been supporting her, moving her around, and she's finally, the baby's dropped, her cervix is dilated, and it's showtime.